it's bizarre, but that's what it is. So you come out of this, and I think honestly that drive, that strong will to get out of it, really is that new you that you become.
Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. We're a father-son leadership podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving big problems. And by the way, we are the number one father-son podcast that records on Tuesdays and Thursdays and is published on YouTube every couple of weeks. And, I dare somebody to come out and try to beat us. Right.
Throw another qualifier on there just in case.
Just in case. we're a father-son podcast where we solve big problems, and we're located in Colorado and Arizona.
Minimum 400 episodes. Minimum 400 episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. Minimum of 400 episodes. There you go. Yeah. I dare you to come out and beat us on that one there, folks.
There we go.
we are truth sayers. Unlike some folks that get on the internet, but that's okay, because we're gonna take our best guess. We may not be right the first time when we're working on solving them big problems, but we're definitely going to be honest about the swing of the bat when we go to hit it.
Oh yeah, no point lying about that.
Yeah. Well, and our good friend Tino is joining us today from Miami. And I'm guessing, unless you're sitting on the beach, Tino, you got to be in an air-conditioned house right now.
100%.
Yeah. I don't think you venture out. I mean, I was in Miami in May, early June, and goodness gracious, it was hot. And fortunately, I only had to walk about 50 yards from air-conditioned hotel to air-conditioned convention center.
Yeah. That's what it is. We have hot, very hot, and even hotter.
Yeah. But some people like that. Is that why you ended up there?
Yeah, no, that was not the reason why. No.
Well, good. So, what happened in business that made you decide to start off on your own venture like this?
Wow, that's a good question.
Very specific question. Yes,
that's a big get started.
I think, to be honest, I think I got that entrepreneurial bug. I inherited that from my mom, who started out selling curtains on marketplaces in beautiful but cold and rainy Hamburg, Germany. And she then later on became one of the most influential people. And I say people because not women, not specifically women in Hamburg, people in Germany in the steel industry. And, Germany and steel is it's a big domain, and it's a very I would say male-driven domain, and that's where she ventured. And for some reason, I caught that bug.
How did you turn that entrepreneurial bug and find the direction with it? Because I think that's always an interesting thing of to have this energy of I'm going to go solve a problem, I'm going to go help people, whatever that kind of catalyst is, to go into be an entrepreneur. And then it's God, there's a lot of ways to help people, and there's a lot of ways that you can solve these problems. So how did you find your direction out of that?
That question itself would mean that I have found that direction.
How did you find the direction you're currently on? There we go.
That is
golf and relationships. I mean, golf is a relationship divider. So I don't see how those. I want to know. That's something I really want to get into, is how those two relate.
It feeds the business. You create a problem just to solve the problem. You know how it is in marketing. But no, all jokes aside. So what happened is, it's interesting, because the question really, I think, is very important. Are you actually on the right track? Are you on the right path? And what happened was me is I, like so many people, I got COVID in 2020 early on, and I couldn't get rid of it. It's like a piece of chewing gum under your shoe. And it just got, from literally one day to another, it got really out of control bad. And I was so annoyed because I had it for like 6-7 weeks already. And so I went to the urgent care center, and they, looked at me and said, we can't help you here. You have to go to the emergency room. So I went to the emergency room. And I left the house and I said to my wife, she's like, what are you doing? And it was the time when you couldn't go anywhere. It was, all shut down and locked down. And so, she was like, where are you going? And I said, I have to go to the urgent care center, and she's like, okay, so you'll be back soon? And I said, sure, like a couple of hours. So then I called her and I said, oh, they make me schlep myself over to the ER. And she's like, okay, so I guess you'll be back for dinner. And I said, yeah, sure. So I felt really bad, and then I collapsed in the emergency room, and I woke up, and there were all, everybody was running around, and they said, well, we have to take you into the ICU. And I said, what's happening here? And so, but then I, fell asleep again, and I woke up in the ICU, and doctors were standing next to me in these hazard suits, like that Dustin Hoffman movie. And I was like, and I felt like I had really taken a beat. And they gave me strong medication because the pain was really bad. And the doctor said, hey, you should talk to the priest. And they handed me a phone, because there was no in-person thing. And so I had the phone, and again, I was like out of this world on cloud number 2000. And I listened to the priest, and I couldn't make sense why he wanted to talk to me until the very end. And he's like, hey, do you want me to read your last rites? And then he did that. And then I understood what was going on. So I handed back the phone. I said, is it really that bad? And I couldn't breathe. I couldn't do, and they said, yes, it's really bad. And you have to call your family, because we don't know if you're going to make it. And we're going to put you on an ECMO after that. And we hope, you're going to survive this night. So I called my wife again. And I told her, to all fairness, I'm not going to be home for dinner, and may not be home at all, and hung up the phone. They put me on that ECMO. The ECMO is a machine that takes out the blood and enriches it with oxygen, and it's a painful process. And then they left, and I felt really bad. And then I when that you're going towards that phase of your life, somebody tells you that you may not make it, and you really have to make peace. That's what you do. You try to make peace. And I came to the conclusion that I was so far away from making peace that everything you just asked me, I couldn't answer was a clear yes. Was I on the right path? No, I was on a wrong path. And I started to realize all these things. And I was like, man, I got to go back. I got to get that second chance to make a first impression. So I started praying. And fair enough, I'm sitting here, so I did get that second chance, and that's what I'm doing now.
There's a piece of the near-death experience I think would be interesting to drill into a bit there, Tino, because I think we've talked with other folks on the show, and they talk about the catalyst, and it's like this life-changing moment. And it's like, look, I have a second chance. I want to go do these things. I want to get on the right path. All what you're saying there, but there's this thing that I feel like people kind of jump over, which is you call it the fight or flight, call it the, feeling sorry for yourself, whatever it is. But it's not like that's a natural fuel of like, here's this instant energy and you're just going to run and go do all these things. That transition to that point, I feel like always gets glossed over a little bit. Could you talk some about your experience with that, of getting to that point where it turns into action, not just, the pain and staying there?
So what I think it does to you is you get that massive clarity. I mean, and it's not taking you days. It takes you probably minutes. So maybe I was running around for like 40 something years trying to find that clarity, and it took me only maybe an hour to get that right there.
Mhm.
And maybe it's driven by the fear that it's over, and that pushes you, it almost like catapults you out there with this massive force. And then also you have that moment of truth, right? Because who the fuck, excuse my French, are you going to shit? Right?
Mhm.
You're looking, that's if that is a moment where you try and look at things like, oh, it's not that bad, who you trying to fool?
Mm.
Right? So that really helps to push through that massive amount of resistance that you have yourself, because you hesitate to push through. You're always trying. I mean, we learn how to have comfort in certain things, and we also know that the best things come out when you actually push through and out of comfort, right?
Mhm.
That's where you really make progress. And so therefore I think that's what it does.
So that resistance, I think that's a great way of talking about it. It no longer becomes a problem. There is no
No.
longer a resistance there because of the state that you're in of hey, if I get a second chance, I'm doing this because I've
Yeah.
seen what I've done and I've
Yeah.
seen the edge.
Yeah.
How does that? Because we're 5 years down the road now. How does that continue to sustain you?
So I did speak to other people who had very similar experiences. And one thing that we all say is that you just do not go back to that moment before. It's
Mm.
almost like, people say like, oh, I have been reborn. And I guess that's really what it is. It's like
Hmm.
that life before and the life after. So you kind of detach from that person. It's bizarre, but that's what it is. So you come out of this, and I think honestly, that drive, that strong will to get out of it, really is that new you that you
Mm.
become. And everything. To all fairness, everybody I spoke to and connected with has been on the back nine, to be in golf, right, of their life, more or less, maybe on the eighth hole, but it's the one, we're not on the first tee box. So that also gives you clarity in terms of, hey, I can do this next year, next and next. You don't, the I always say the patience level for bullshit is, the tolerance level is very thin and very short, and you just move. You don't think, you act, and you take that kind of stop before you act moment. It's compressed in a very short time frame.
Mhm.
Mm.
Uh,
Well, I
this
was just
gets
going
more
to
into
say
the.
we gotta
Go ahead.
bring up make sure that we introduce Tino to our good friend and another guest just recently, Craig Andrews, who
Mhm.
had a similar experience with COVID.
Yeah.
Except he was put on the respirator thing, but
Yeah.
issued
Yeah.
last rites and coma and all that sort of stuff. I think
Yeah.
you two would have a lot in common in that story.
Oh, and that kind of sets up what I was thinking, which is there's always this interesting thing from like more the coach perspective and like learning the lessons and then applying and then trying to teach others. There's these always kind of funny things where when we learn lessons from these like crazy life experiences, like Dad always make fun of you for like the Green Beret stuff. It's like you can't really bottle that up and hand it to somebody.
No.
It's a hard thing to do. I would love to hear your little bit of your process, Tino, of how you've obviously, like you said, no, it's impossible not bottled it up. But how have you gone through that and kind of teased out some of those lessons for folks so that they don't have to have this kind of a moment to make that kind of a change?
So that's an interesting question. I think, I have, I'm blessed with 3 kids. And what we do as parents is we try and teach children certain things, right? So What you also try and do is you try and protect your children so, they don't hurt themselves. I grew up, and I know that this day and age things are a little different, but I grew up where, when you learn how to ride the bicycle, I was put on there, and if I fell, and my knees were bleeding, then that, tough luck. And you probably did that a few times. And, until you learned the hard way how to ride the bicycle. And I think that's really where we are. So we can try and learn that the hard way, and we try and protect people and try and say, hey, don't do that. It's going to hurt. It's not the right way to do it, and you can be smarter about it. But sometimes people have to have that experience. How much of an experience is really up to them, how quickly they can learn, right? It's a hot stove. Don't put your hand on it. Poof, ow. It's like, okay, told you so. And that's that process. So to answer your question, there is my purpose. My purpose, I realize that, we're here. We maybe we will be reborn. I don't know about that. I can't answer that. But we're here for a limited time, and we have to make use of that time in a way that when we leave, we go back and look back and say, it was good. It was exactly, it was good. Maybe not exactly how I envisioned it, but it was good. You don't want to leave where you say, oh, no, it wasn't good. I should have done this and I shouldn't have that. And, a lot of people do that. Trust me. And there are books written about it, But I feel that not everything can be clear, but there are elements in your life that you really need to get clarity on, no matter what. Unless, and that's okay, if you tell me right here now, I'm fine with all the regrets that I will have when that moment hits me, and I sit there, I lay there, whatever, I walk, I swim, wherever I will be when that moment comes, I will say, you know what, I have all these regrets and no problem. Chances are, and that's all I can say because I've been there, I don't really wish anybody to be in that position and have all these regrets.
So when you came out of that and got back into up on your feet, for probably the simplest way to put it, what was in that clarity of purpose? What was that action step you took to move forward and create the Dietrich Institute and start these new ventures that you're on now?
So there were a few things, and it's interesting because I had to lose I had to lose a lot of weight. I lost about 90 something pounds. Wow. And I had to lose that fast because what happened is I had a heart problem. A lot of people were looking at the lung, so they didn't really see that my heart was infected. And, so it took me about a year and something to get back. That process of losing weight was also losing my past, so to say. So I cut the pounds away, the fat. I always say fat birds don't fly. So, got to get lean and mean. And while doing that, I also cut out all the BS in my life, right? All the fat in my life. Well, toxic people, toxic habits, toxic everything. And the more I did that, the more clarity came towards me. And that is what I knew I wanted to do when I built, the Dietrich Institute, because I said, I want to build a place where people can turn to and know that within certain areas of life, you get the same amount of service, you get the same amount of quality, and, same mission, vision, culture, and ethics. And, talking about coaching, I think it's a very overrated space where I'm surprised, a lot of coaches out there said, you shouldn't be coaching. I think you're the one who needs a little bit of coaching, but whatever, right? Like that's where we are. So I understand that I'm, swimming upstream, but it is what it is.
Hmm. Yeah, every now and then you meet those coaches. How'd I put it to you last week, Dad? The coaches, it's they feel like they're coaching themselves and they're talking to you, and it's like, all right, I don't think this is about me at all. I think you've got something going on.
I know.
Talking about talking about cutting out that fat, and I'm going to use the analogy a bit here to play with it a bit, but I think there's an interesting thing because I've thought about this. Of it's like you want to trim the fat, cut out the toxic people in your life. I think that tends to make a lot of sense. When I was giving a talk on this a while back, and the idea came to mind, it's like, all right, but that's also the flavor. That's what makes the steak good. That's where the flavor comes from for the meal. There's all these kind of things. What do you make of that, Tino? Of this idea of like a good fat and a bad fat type of thing? Because I think there's an interesting piece there where you got to have some downtime. You got to have a little bit of the extra stuff. That's what makes life to an extent. But also, like, you don't want to just be chewing on gristle all the time. And I don't know if I lost that analogy at the end or not. But I'll throw that back over to you.
I
No
follow
more
you.
help for you, son.
I totally follow you. And my short answer is, first, you need to know what good and bad fat is. If you don't know, and that means that you're already a step ahead of the curve. Most people look at fat the way it is. It's fat. And they don't even know, or they willingly. It's like, that very obese person that puts in another 15 candy bars in the shopping cart, and you go like, hey, maybe you should cut down. Only 6 is enough, right? Like, but no, it's not from the candy. And you go like, no, it's not, of course, So tough, you were a step ahead. And then when you know what good and bad fat is to you, then you can decide. But until you don't know, you don't know.
Could you give some examples of what that might look like from your perspective on that, of the good fats that you kept around?
I think the best fat that I kept around is, the what you would call quality time and like I go out play golf. A lot of people would say, whoa, luxury. And I say, no, it's not. For me, that's like meditation. And, you could say like, yeah, whatever. It is. I went back to golf and I played golf all my life, but I stopped because I was so busy, right? Which is okay. Life happens. And then I got back because I needed something that, I was able to walk. I couldn't run. So golf came back to my mind and I kept it in my life. So to me, that is, a luxurious way to spend time, but it's good. For me, it is good. And maybe other people, and I just a few weeks ago, I played with someone who was really bad. And then he started talking to him like, you're a moron. And, I'm like, whoa, said, you're talking to yourself the way that, you would not anybody talk to you that way, would you? Mm-hmm. And he just looked at me and I said, you're not good enough to talk to yourself like that, just keep that in mind. But
oh yeah. I think that's an example of how the good fat can become a bad fat. But there's something healthy, there's something cathartic you're going through. And
that is my point.
You can easily, yeah.
That was my point, because you were asking, like, can you give me an example? I was trying to make that example. But there are other examples. But I also say, like every eye forms its own beauty. I say everybody forms their own way of happiness, right? Like happiness to you is this maybe not my happiness, and my happiness is not yours. So my good fat is maybe bad fat for you, and vice versa. So think about that.
And I think that's the key point is what's good for you isn't necessarily good for somebody else, because maybe that guy is just he's one of those people that has to have everything up here. And if he's not up there, then he sucks. And until that attitude changes, then you have to be really cautious of that. And the other thing that pops to my mind in golf is the Stoic Epictetus talking about taking walks outside to keep the mind open. And you're forced, even if you're riding in the cart, if you're a cart, a cart driver for walking those or playing 18 holes, you are still outside. I mean,
yep.
There's
you
no way
will
to
still be
golf.
walking. I mean,
yeah. You still Yeah, because they won't let you drive the damn cart on the greens.
There are par threes, cart on path only. Like, man.
Like, really? I got to walk this? Oh, man. Why this? Yeah. No, I'm the hack golfer. I go out when somebody says, "Hey, we're doing that as part of this event. Do you want to play?" Okay. Do they have clubs?
Talking about golf, though, one thing, Tina, I'd love to hear your opinion on is getting back into the thing that you were competitive at, high level at, got away from because too busy, or I'm sure there's a multitude of reasons. But I think that's always an interesting thing because it can be somewhat painful getting back because the quality is not as good and you're comparing yourself, and there's all sorts of things that can go wrong trying to get back into something. But at the same time, it is something that's very important to you. So it's important to work through those possible missteps. What was your experience like with that?
Yeah, my wife always says with me it's black and white. There is no gray, and so I'm in or out.
Well,
and
you are German after all.
I know. It's like, God. Is my accent that bad? But okay, I'm working on it. Okay. No, but all seriousness, I think when I put my mind onto something, then I just focus and there's the entrepreneurial mindset again. You push and push and push, and I did everything I could. I ran into a former PGA tour player, and who trained me, and it was just good. I mean, not that I could afford that per se, because that cost you like half a fortune. But I was lucky enough that that individual did like my story, and maybe also felt a little sorry for me. So I bonded, in the beginning, because I was really bad. I was like, is there hope? And yeah, but then there is hope. I made it all the way down to single digits, and yeah, no, all good.
So how does golf enable you to continue to lead I'm coming back to the relationship thing. Lead you in driving forward with the Dietrich Institute, the relationships, the partner relationships that you work with?
To me, golf is something that is much more than what a lot of people see in golf. It's you have to be really honest with yourself, right? You can say, oh, but some people like a mulligan here and this and that, and they really shot like 9, and oh, it was a 7. You go like, no, it was a 9. So, so that itself is a process. And I think to play against you and keep you focused, even though there are tons of other ideas and thoughts in your mind, but you really have to focus on that. And you start to learn to control your feelings, including anger, and. John Rahm said you have to have the memory of a goldfish playing golf, right? You can't take that last bad hole into the next hole, or you be screwed there. So I think that teaches us a lot about life, right? It teaches you to keep that distance between the left and right ear as the most important distance on the course, and in life. So golf, in many ways, shape, and forms, is life.
I thought baseball was life. I mean, that's what Yogi Berra said, right?
I always say rugby is life, but that's
and maybe it is. To me, it is golf, and to you, it is baseball. I think you got to find your. The Japanese call it ikigai, which is that the common denominator of these things, and I think mine in that context is golf.
What What do you think is a key lesson that people miss in terms of relationship? Like that big pitfall of not thinking about this thing, or, a lesson that you've
Mm.
learned that you're like, oh my gosh, this is the golden rule I'm trying to give people. What do you think is something that people miss when it comes to those kind of relationships?
I think there are a few. I don't think there's one in particular, but I think there are a few. One, for example, that is very common is that people do not understand that it all starts with yourself. So a lot of people go into couple therapy and couple, and I say it starts with you first, because do you really know what it is that you want? And that's why we say true. We call it the true program, because you may think, and that was the fad, we talked about, you may think you know what you want, but maybe it's not. And maybe you chase like a carrot on a stick happiness, and you always wonder why you never get to that place, right? That place that you call happiness. And I think, that's just very difficult. And then you expect your partner, which is crazy, to mind read and guess, with the crystal ball, what your happiness might be, because you don't know what it is, but your partner will know, like Harry Potter. And, then voila, it's all created. So I think that's a very common mistake, number one. And to do that, you really need to go through that moment of truth, right? So no, it wasn't 9. It was more 12 on the last hole. It was really bad. Was it that bad? Yeah, no, it was worse. So I think that you come to that moment, and then clarity, and then you can take that and define how to get there. And that's the next step. So again, understanding what your happiness means to you, and then start to communicate, because then a lot of people try and fix their partner, and you cannot fix your partner. It's not your partner. Fix yourself and you fix your partner. And that's the matter of perception and perspective. I always encourage people to look at a painting, go anywhere, look at a painting and stand on the left side and then turn over to the right side. And all of a sudden the perspective, you see things from a complete different angle, and you see things that you didn't see before. And that is what you have to do. So those are a few things that I think are easy to understand, but not simple to fix.
And I think happiness is one of those things that we should all understand. Could you walk us through a little bit of that, your philosophy, or maybe even an exercise, a quick exercise on how to discover what happiness is?
Yeah, I got one, which is what I do a lot with people is called the mirror exercise. So you just travel with me into 10 years and into the future, and you wake up in the morning and you look to the right, and who's there next to you, right? And then you get out of bed, walk down into your kitchen, and you pour yourself a coffee or tea or water, whatever it is that you prefer, and you look outside, and and what is it that you see? Is it a beach? Is it streets? Is it trees? Is it snow? Whatever it is, what is it? And you look at your fridge. Are there pictures on the fridge, and who is on those pictures, right? And you take that in, and then you take your coffee, water, and you walk into the bathroom, and there's a mirror. And you look into that mirror. Who do you look at? Is that the person you envision to become? Or is it the person that you trying not to become? So, and you can get very specific. You can do that every day, and you can add more and more details. And as you envision your life in the future, talking about the matrix, that is where you go. And that is how you slowly start to understand what it is that you are searching.
There's I was having a conversation with a friend last night about some similar kind of subject, but the idea of it's like the importance of understanding some loose framework, some vague idea of what it is that you're working towards, and then it's like as you go, you can figure out what it really is. I think the idea behind that is that when we don't have a point of reference, it's really hard to frame a problem set. So we tend to frame it off of someone else's definition of happiness, and then hopefully we change it as things go, and we make our own definition. That's a big hope there, I would say, for a lot of people. But at the same time, there's like this tendency to go with other people's definition. And I started off with that framing point because I do think there is a necessity of that. If you have no idea what happiness is, somebody's got to describe it to you as a starting point. But what do you think, Tino, is like the thing that gets people stuck on that rather than reshaping that definition as they go?
It's how you define reality. So everybody has a different view of reality. Whatever you we're all looking at the same thing, and everybody defines it different. Now, am I right and you wrong, or what is it, right? And how is that? It's because, and this is a great story, and it's true. In ancient times, people did not know the color blue. Have you heard about that? Mm-hmm. Right? So they couldn't define blue. It was gray or black or whatever, right? And so they ran into this tribe in Africa, I don't know, a few years ago, and they showed them all these things, and they also did the color test, and they realized that these people did not have the definition of blue. For them, it was 50 shades of green. Right? It was light green and this and that. But they had way more definitions of green than we have. So what I'm trying to say is, if you don't know blue, you will define it as something else, which means that doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that you never learned. So how we grow up and how we learn what has been handed us, by rules and regulations and the media and the parents and school, and that's how we define reality, which also means is how you define happiness. And if you hear all the time that, I don't know, happy wife, happy life, then that BS becomes your mantra, and you ask yourself, why is it not working? Because it's just, you're living someone else's dream, in this case, maybe Hallmarks or someone, I don't know, but that's the truth, and I think that's what we all do, and the whole system works great because they keep us in this hamster wheel, and we're chasing this thing, eat more pizza and then take Ozempic and then this and this and this and this, and all you do is you just have to work a little harder to just make more money to feed the monster that you're creating yourself. But good luck.
Yeah, is this in a philosophical, or maybe in a caveman sense? Is there,
caveman philosophy? Let's go.
Yeah. Well, what's popping? Well, really, Lukenbach, Texas, is what's popping in my head. Is are we keeping up with the Joneses? What is the root of that desire to keep up with the Joneses?
Because we are, and I wrote my last book that I wrote called False Kings, and I'm in the process of publishing it. I write about that, and I call it, I write about man, okay? So I call it manipulation, okay? Man. And people are like, oh, but women are, and I say, yeah, but I have not been a woman, so I can't really talk on their behalf. I let them talk on their behalf, so I talk about men. So we grow up, boys don't cry and this and that has changed too. But it all changes every 20 years or so. And I talked about how to learn how to ride the bicycle, right? Everything has changed according to society, and we, when I grew up, I went to a boarding school, so my parents kind of handed me over to a third party. It's like, hey, here he is, turn him into a good human being, right? And call me later, I'm busy with life. And that's no disrespect. My mom loved me and everything. I know that. But we do the same thing, right? We send the kids to school, and then they come back, and then, did you learn something? Nah. And you go like, okay. but and then, these human beings turn into something that look at things, that human being, that being, and shaping reality in the way they were brought up. And that has changed. But social media, they're consuming that. Look at my kids. It's crazy, but it is shaping their perception. And not even that they go like, well, this is possible. They go like, this is what it is. And I'm like, how do you know?
With the question that keeps coming to mind, talking about like defining your happiness, and actually I think in the context of your story, Tino, but I think also just broadly in COVID, I think we saw a lot of this. Of it was for a lot of people, some more dramatic than others, but it was a forced pause. And you have this situation where it's like, I'm not allowed to run on the hamster wheel anymore. And now I've got to figure out what the hell I'm doing with my life. And for a lot of people, it's this, great moment, and they found the career and they became an entrepreneur. And there's all sorts of good stuff like that. But what comes to mind, kind of like I was joking earlier, of it's like, do people like, it's like, okay, well, we can't all have near death experiences. Like Otis, we can't all ship people out in the mountains for 10 days to go get them to learn how to be a Green Beret. Like those things don't really work. What do you think, Tino, is that like mechanism for pause that can help people to have those moments where they go, okay, step back a little bit and look at the whole rather than being stuck in the thing all the time?
So I think it really comes down to you, and there's no. When I went to school, we were shown this, and I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it too. This film about not smoking, and they had these people, and there was this guy with this thing, and he's like, "Nah, this is not because of smoking," and you go like, "No, why is it?" So it just shows us I would say ignorance. I'm not saying stupidity, but ignorance that we all kind of live with, right? And we all have that moment. We all do things that we know we shouldn't do, but I think you really have to come to your own happy moment, right? Where you say, okay, this is who I am, and this is what I accept, and this is what I do not accept. And you have to have that clarity. And if you don't get to that point, you will never find that balance that you need. And it doesn't matter if I say that or not. It doesn't really matter. You can accept it or not. It doesn't, to me, it makes no difference. But you will come to that moment when you realize that what I just said, it's almost like gravity. I didn't invent gravity, but I can rest assure you, if you throw something up in the air, you better make sure that you're not standing under it, because it's going to fall down. Unless you're Superman, then you can really throw it up.
Yeah, well, he throws it up and then goes into orbit.
So, I haven't met him personally, so
unless it's kryptonite, of course. Why? I find this interesting, and especially where we're at right now, because I always love to dig to the root. And why are we afraid? We in the general human population afraid to do those things, choose for ourselves. What is the barrier that we all seem to have to either overcome or just not even know it's there? It just keeps us from having that happiness or understanding our values or our purpose or those things. What is that?
I do believe that we all, today more so, are being brought up by the belief that you can get away with things. Mm-hmm. You can get away with that, right? Like, why do people eat very bad food? It's not like they eat bad food knowing that they are hurting themselves, and that, why is there like every third person in the US pre-diabetic and diabetic? I don't think that they willingly go into any supermarket and eat all these products and say, I want to become a diabetic. So I think that really is where it is, right? And we are being brought up with less and less boundaries. So you learn less and less that what you're doing is really causing a problem for you. You're not really thinking about the problem because you think you can get away with it, right? Because now, these days they have pills and injections and, and hey, no problem. I can eat the 2 pizzas and then, just take that injection and they vanish. Harry Potter again.
Do you think that goes back to like, I guess more on the problem solving side of it, less diagnosing, but that goes back to the need for your social circle, your tribe to frankly call
100%.
bullshit on stuff? Because I think a lot of what you're talking about there, it's really just this moment of like, dude, no, like that's not good for you. Like you got, like, and having somebody who can just go with like, look, everyone out here may say that's fine, but I know you and like this isn't okay. And I think that moment is that, I don't know, to me that seems like the only thing that can point to, a positive direction on that. What do you think?
100%. I mean, there is a reason why man have, and again, I only talk for man right now, but why man have a crisis. And you can say, oh, those poor man, it is a problem. We're being pushed around, and yes, women are too. But again, I'm not trying to say man more than women. We all are. But we as men, we have a clear role and we can all argue about it. But the role is the role. I mean, it's just been given to us, period. And if you don't like it, you may get away with defining your role in a different way in life. But if you do that, it has a consequence. You can't just have it all. You cannot. You cannot eat 5 pizzas and think you're still losing weight. It doesn't make sense. And you can run to the gym all day long, and that's what's happening. And I think we need to come together, understand that, have each other's back like we used to have. That's wherever you go, your neighborhood, right? You really need to rely on your neighbors. If there's something happening, you better have good neighbors. If something is happening, you better have a good family, right? That's what you need to have. I mean, we talked about the Green Beret. We talked about the Army. That's what they are. I went to the German Army. I know what I'm talking about. I've spent almost 2 years there. It's like, this is what you learn. And you may not even agree with the person next to you, but you still will rely on each other. Mm-hmm. So, talking about happiness, you may have 10 people in a group and maybe everybody defines happiness in a different way. But one thing, and that's the purpose, that's what we're all looking at. That's what we all fight for every day. That what needs to connect stuff, that's what will get us through this. And then you can argue about all the other BS,
Yeah, well, I agree. And it's that nobody gets there by themselves, right?
No. You think, they make you think. They actually, and when you say they, I would say society, whatever, marketing, social media, they all divide us because that's really way more comfortable, because then we are in that weak spot where we don't know who to turn to. And that's why you see what's happening. Mental health issues. And I think the more we talk about it, the more mental health issues we create, because people are like, yeah, that's me. I got to take a pill for that. And then they give you a pill, which causes another problem. Like the other day, I read the statistics about Ozempic, and it's like the average person spends like crazy $15,000 a year. Because it's not just the weight loss drug, because all the other side effects that it creates, you also have to take. I'm like, wow. And you're on it forever, Yeah. It's not like you do it for 4 weeks and, boom, you're off.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it just really leads me to what I learned, because I love this phrase, the way you put it. Every eye forms its own beauty. And when we're in that self-indulgent world, we think that our way is the only way. Our eye sees only what we want and refuses to understand or see what other people see. And I think that's a huge lesson to always remember that, yeah, this is my perception, but you have yours, they have theirs, and they're all different. And
And
That's a
who
great
knows
way.
if it's right or wrong, right? That's the
Right.
that's the crazy part of it, because reality is shaped because of how we learn reality.
Yeah.
I was gonna add, and it's different, and you are unique, and you're a special little snowflake flower, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
At the same time, you can still learn from them other folks, and I think that's the big key with that kind of thing. Is like, especially in the mental health space, and it's like I have all these problems, and it's all. It doesn't mean you can't learn from someone else that has those problems. Those
Yeah.
those simple truths. They're simple and they're annoying because they're right on a lot of those things, and it's like that's why you got to be able to open yourself up to those, not think you're so special that you are beyond treatment. I think is a good
I
way to put it.
I've had this one guy, and he was really difficult to open up, right? It was really difficult, and it was always that shaker, moving and grooving. I got it all under control. And yeah, yes, last night I was in the bar and this and that, it's like, okay. And that one day, we had this group session, and I don't know, but he started to talk about some experiences in the past with his sister and his mom, and she was super sick, and then it was all left on him. And all of a sudden, that guy in this group, he was clearly stigmatized. This is the blah blah guy. But all of a sudden, everything changed, and he opened up and he cried and everything, right? And it all. And I said, you know what? This is what this group does. This is exactly what this group does. It gives you all of a sudden. It may take a while, but it gives you that breakthrough moment when you start to face your own BS. And you start to realize, you know what? And after that, complete different dynamics in the group.
Camden, how about you? What'd you learn?
Yeah, for me, I think it's something, and we've talked about it in other forms before on the show, but the importance of being able to call bullshit on people with love is the asterisk I would add, the extra piece I would add on to that. Because I think that it's like, it seems like it's a dichotomy sometimes. If it's like, either it's like, Tino, you're great, everything you're doing, you're awesome, man, it's all perfect. Or it's like, dude, you're full of shit, it's all this negative. And it's like, look, we can do both. And I'll take the rugby coaching example of going out there. It's like, hey, man, I think you're great. You're a cool guy, awesome rugby player, all that. It's like, but you need to fix this. This thing does not work. And if you want to be a good rugby player, you want to continue, you got to fix this thing. And it's this simple, honest moment. And when you go to people like that and you communicate with them with that love and not this lovey-dovey, you're perfect, but just like, hey, man, I appreciate you, but we need to work on this thing. People accept that, and people are going to, it's sometimes you got to touch the stove yourself, but that's about as close as you can get to touching the stove for someone else,
Yeah. Tino, how about you, man? What'd you learn?
All jokes aside, I learned that baseball has some similarities to golf. I have to look into that.
But it's a terrible thing, I've been told, to go from a baseball swing to a golf swing.
I know. I'm not referring to the swing, but to all honesty, I think it's an interesting aspect to see it that way. So I've clearly learned that, and I think we talked about it earlier too, is really to open up more in terms of allowing people's reality. And we stressed it out. And at the moment we talked about it, I was like, there is also sometimes the moment where you absolutely no, accept someone's opinion and you really disagree strongly, but you don't even allow yourself to step into their shoes for a moment. And I think that's something we all need to do. And we may not like these shoes and we may not like what we see, but we have to accept that.
Yeah. Tino, how do folks find you, learn more about this weird dichotomy of relationships and golf that you have going on?
So we actually have a landing page. So it's Dietrich, Dietrich Institute.com/10x.
Awesome. That's as long as you've had at least one lesson in German, that should be really easy to remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Tino, man, it has been a lot of fun having you on the show today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank y'all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. Wow. And a special thanks to our guest, Konstantin Dietrich, for joining us today. Tino, thanks for joining us. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10X Your Team. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass it along to other lifelong learners in your tribe so they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, that full archive of episodes available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next time.